Inuyasha and Yashahime are filled to the brim with amazing characters and demons who have crazy abilities. Everything from the Iron Reaver Soul Stealer to Naraku's Miasma, Sesshomaru's Light Whips, and Tetsaiga's Wind Scar, even including Setsuna's Cyclone. All of these attacks are so memorable and so cool to me, but I always had this one minor question. How the hell does this stuff actually work? Well, today, we're going to be talking about yokai abilities and explaining how they work, as well as just talking about some of my favorites. If you're excited to learn about demons a little bit more in both of these series, let me know by leaving a like as well as a comment to tell me who your favorite demon was and which abilities of theirs stood out. You should also definitely click the subscribe button to make sure you see all of the daily Inuyasha and Yashahime content. And if you're looking for further updates, you can of course follow me on Twitter or Instagram at AxelianYT. Finally, I want to thank our newest patrons, Jasmine Morales, Jesse Cruz, Kimchi Baby, and Maria Sparts. You guys are absolutely amazing, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate you all. With that all said, let's get to the video. So as I mentioned before, there are a slew of different ways that demons can attack. In most cases, this can be broken down into 4 categories though. Firstly, the user's body. Second, physical manifestations. Third are elemental attacks. And finally, weapon-based attacks. But to fully explain any of these, we have to understand something called yoki, or as it's sometimes called yoryoku. Yoki is a demon's demonic energy, which acts as the source of their power. This can also be supplemented by evil energy called jaki, which is the malicious energy around a yokai, essentially their aura. I think the best way I can explain it is that yoki is the energy within a demon and jaki is the aura that they exude. Not a perfect analogy, but that's kind of the clearest picture I can paint. Jaki is more powerful depending on the demon's strength, and is typically evil in nature. A demon with powerful jaki, such as Naraku, can even use it to corrupt objects like the Shikon Jewel, and in some cases, jaki can be used to corrupt people, such as forcing Inuyasha to transform into a full demon, or whenever we see a character being held under a demon's mind control abilities. If a demon like Naraku can create miasma, this jaki can also be called shoki, which essentially is the miasma. It can corrode and poison everything it touches, and it can even act as an extension of their own jaki, affecting things at a much farther range. I know we have a bunch of strange words here, but put simply, yoki is a demon's life energy, jaki is the evil energy that they exude, and shoki is turning that evil into miasma. We see jaki represented clearest when Inuyasha is learning the Wind Scar, and the show will often show us 2 colliding demonic forces. Later, we learn about Yoketsu, or a vortex of demonic energy. After being upgraded to the Dragon Scale variant, the Tetsaiga is able to cut a demon's Yokotsu directly and instantly kill them. But enough of the logistical and background stuff, let's talk about the attacks. We can start with demonic abilities that work based on the user's body. When we're looking at attacks, you can think of things kind of like Inuyasha's Iron Reaver. He channels his yoki through his claws to increase their range and strength, making them much more powerful than they would be without it. Whenever you see those yellow claw marks traveling through the air, that isn't just for show. That's the yoki that's being sent off from his attacks as an energy-based physical thing. We also see yoki being used in body manipulation whenever we see any demon use henge or transformation. This includes things like Sesshomaru or his parents turning into their true form or into their human forms. And similarly, we see it in characters who transform like Shippo, Naraku, and Hachi. Interestingly enough, the Shikon Jewel seems to flood a demon's body with so much of its own jaki that it can force them to transform. We see this with Shibugarasu, Mistress Centipede, and Naraku. And by the looks of it, the same can be said by the Rainbow Pearls in Yashahime. It doesn't exactly look like the most pleasant of experiences though. Personally, I kind of like my skin on my body. Furthermore, a Hanyo's yoki seems to be more susceptible to change. For example, it tends to be lowered once a month and forces them to become a human. Or if it ever gets heightened too much, they can be forced into a temporary full demon state, with some demons even being able to manipulate this, like Kaguya in the second movie. Next up, let's talk manifestation. Some demons can actually create items or constructs with their yoki. Think of these almost like an upgraded version of the energy claws made with the Iron Reaver, and the best example of this is probably Sesshomaru's Light Whip. However, we also see it in things like Inuyasha's Blades of Blood, Naraku's Barriers, and even Shippo's Jizo statues or doppelgangers. Some of the more notable examples of manifestation would include Yura's hair, Naraku creating incarnations, Naraku putting a wind tunnel curse on Miroku's family, and Kaguya from the second movie creating black holes. Speaking of the movies, in the first one, when Manomaru transforms into Lord Hyuga, they also seem to be able to produce demons. This is seen in many ways through the series, but I honestly just wanted an opportunity to talk about the movies, and if I'm being perfectly honest, I already have them downloaded, and finding footage is much easier this way. Some demons can't just produce manifestations though, they can also generate elemental energy. For example, Sesshomaru is able to channel his Yoki into lightning, and then send it through Tokijin to produce the sword Yuha. Other demons who might use poison elements tend to fill their bodies with toxins or miasma. For example, Naraku's poisonous insects. In some cases, demons already have elemental affiliations as well, and for them, Yoki is simply used to make their attacks more potent and powerful. We can look to Kagura creating massive tornadoes, or Naraku's miasma being enhanced with his jockey. Other characters with a heavy elemental basis include Ginka and Kinka, Entei, and Ryukotse, as well as all of the antagonists from the fourth movie. Of course, we also see Setsuna producing wind with her Kanemitsu no Tomoe, and while we haven't seen it in the series yet, we get a few clips of Toa using some kind of light or energy-based sword, which I would imagine falls into this category or manifestation depending on if it's just purely a light elemental attack, or if it works the same way that Sesshomaru's whip works. Also, I'm not exactly sure where to place this, but Meido attacks probably fall under here or manifestation as well. Finally, we come to weapon-based attacks, which we kind of glanced over when we mentioned Soryuha. But honestly, that's more created by Sesshomaru more so than the sword itself. When we're talking about demon weapons in Inuyasha and Yashahime, we're typically talking about kanatsu, or sword pressure. When Yoki is channeled into a sword, the user is able to strike enemies from a distance. We usually see this in three forms, with slashes acting like projectiles. You can think of Kagura's wind sickles from her fan as an example of this, albeit amplified by the wind. Needles, which are fired off like bullets, think Tokijin here. And Yoki waves, like the wind scar from Tessaiga or the Bokusaiga's wave attack, can slay small armies of demons at once. We also have a look at Moroha's Crimson Dragon Wave, which seems to be a much more focused attack, in contrast to the massive destruction of Tessaiga or Bokusaiga. Some demons even have things called Ogi, which are basically ultimate attacks. In the case of Inuyasha and Tessaiga, for example, they have the Backlash Wave. The demons of Inuyasha and Yashahime all use these core principles or variations upon them to produce every attack and ability we see in the series. Essentially, it comes down to being able to manipulate Yoki or Jockey, with the Shikon Jewel being able to multiply what a demon is able to produce, or amplifying a human by giving them some access to Yoki or Jockey on their own. Some of the abilities we've seen the jewel allow for include reanimation, using the Bone Eater's Well, turning animals into demons, extending life, super speed, super strength, creating incarnations, transformations, and general amplification of a person or demon's abilities. By the look of it so far, I would say the Rainbow Pearls have a similar effect, albeit on their own they seem to be a little bit weaker, but together possibly much stronger. But yeah, these are my explanations for how demons and their abilities function in both Inuyasha and Yashahime. Let me know which demon you think had the coolest abilities in the comment section down below. Remember to leave a like and subscribe for more daily Inuyasha and Yashahime content. And finally, again, a big thank you to our new patrons, Jasmine Morales, Jesse Cruz, Kimchi Baby, and Maria Sparts, with Jasmine being the first in our Hanyo tier. You guys are all amazing, and I cannot thank you enough. With all that being said though, thank you all for watching this video, and until next time, remember to stay excellent.